Welcome back. I have made my way to Trafalgar Square, where we have a rally in support of Syriza, if I spelled that right. The title, wasn't quite sure. Looks like quite a turnout.
Oh yeah.
It's very important that we tell the ECB and the IMF and wherever the other one is to go take a running jump. Austerity is fake. Money is not real. These bailouts are just debt slavery that applies not just to countries but to people. If you've got a mortgage, you're a debt slave. It's quite impossible for Greece to repay its debts. Just the same as it's quite impossible for the vast majority of the debt that has been run up by these criminal banksters to ever be repaid. This is quite a big crowd. Obviously the little Hitlers in Trafalgar Square have stamped their little feet and not allowed them into the square itself. But the land in front of the National Gallery is public space. Trafalgar Square is covered under these strange bylaws, the same as Parliament Square. And you have these little Hitlers with the red hats that look like Gestapo, treating it as if it was private space, when it's not.
The Greek and the people across Europe, we have enough. We have our dignity back. We have
Però non è sostenibile.
Wow, a lot of people here.
With us, we have the workers of Europe that they've seen their wages down.
I'm an engineer.
With us, we have the pensioners that they've seen their life savings reduced to nothing. With us, we have the unemployed, the students, the youth of Europe who have been robbed from our futures. With us, we have the families that they were left without homes and they are now in the streets because of the austerity policies. With us, we have the sick people of Europe who have no access to health care anymore. All of them, they are with Syriza. All of them, they are together with the Greek people and they demand dignity and social justice. They are trying to rob us from dignity. They are trying to destroy social justice. The fight we have in front of us is going to be a difficult fight. But while we will be giving
someone tells them we have a political prisoner in the police station just around the corner from here, Dranka Mahathi, who still hasn't been released.
Europe. We are the ones that we created democracy in Europe. We are the ones that we took the streets to fight for employment rights. We are the ones who died in the strikes for these rights. We are the people from Europe. We created Europe, and Europe's foundations are based on our blood and our sacrifices. They have nothing that they can rob us.
Yes, this is solidarity with Syriza.
It's our rights.
And not actually in Trafalgar Square because of the Gestapo, because of Boris's Gestapo. Police put their little feet down and stumped their little feet, but we're outside the National Gallery.
But today we are all Greeks, and today we are all Syriza.
Yeah. But this space is big enough.
I want to say that we today are part of a mass movement across Europe, indeed across the world. There are demonstrations in Portugal, Lisbon and Porto. There's demonstrations in Berlin and Bremen. There's demonstrations in Nicosia in Cyprus.
It's not that small here,
There's
actually.
demonstrations in Brussels.
Yeah, it is.
Copenhagen, Vienna. Yesterday, thousands on the streets of Rome singing "All we are saying is give Greece a chance." Budapest, Belgrade, in Sweden, Norway, Melbourne, Australia, big meeting in New York last week. Just before I invite the next speaker, I'd like you all to remember our founder and our first president. His name was Tony Benn. And Tony Benn was a radical leader of the people in Britain, but I read to you the message he sent to the Syriza Congress in 2013. In 2013, Tony Benn sent this message to the Congress, the Unifying Congress of Syriza in Athens. We see Syriza as a beacon of hope for those fighting austerity across Europe. If we stand together in these most difficult times, we can win through to build a better world for our children. If we can have a clap for Tony, who's no longer with us. Our second speaker is from the mass
I've not missed much
movement in
then.
Britain against austerity, the People's Assembly. It's John Rees.
Oh, John Rees. Very well.
Thank you very much, Paul. I don't think any of us are in a moment's doubt about the significance of the election of Syriza in Greece. It represents the first time since the 2008 crash that hope has entered the dialogue with the bankers, the bosses and the governments of Europe. It is the first time that any people have elected a government which says plainly and simply austerity is not working. It is perhaps even more significant than that, because it is perhaps the first time since neoliberal economics came to dominate our lives under Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan that any people has stood up and said, we simply will not take this anymore.
Yeah.
That's the message. We won't take it anymore. But let's be clear where this challenge came from. It is so much more than a single election of a single party. Because this party came from the streets. This party came from the unions. This party came from the direct struggle of ordinary working people. It is a creation of a mass movement, and it was elected because it is the creation of a mass movement. And more than this, because it faces now challenges and threats from the rich, from the bankers, from the governments, from the Troika, because it faces the mass ranks of the powerful and the wealthy, it can only succeed if it is defended in the streets, if it is defended by the unions, if it is defended by the people of Europe from one end of the continent to another. The fate of Syriza is in all our hands. And for that reason, the People's Assembly is calling for a mass demonstration against austerity 6 weeks after the general election in this country, because there is one thing that is sure about the next general election here, that whatever government comes to power, it will try and enforce austerity, and we are going to take to the streets in this country to say we will not have it here, because they have not had it in Greece, and it should not be imposed anywhere. So I give you this pledge, and it is a pledge I believe that millions of people in this country also subscribe to. It is this: I was the first person in my family to be born in an NHS hospital. I was the first person in my family to come home to a publicly owned council house. I was the first person in my family who throughout my lifetime, if I felt ill, I was cared for by a National Health Service. I was the first person in my family ever to go to university. But I tell you this, and I tell David Cameron this, and I tell Ed Miliband this: I will not be the last working person in this country that defends the welfare state, that defends the NHS, that defends public education. As ever, excellent. We have another excellent speaker for you now. But first,
That's John Rees from the People's Assembly.
Know it.
Know him well.
The Green Party in Greece Trafalgar supported Syriza and stood with Syriza in the election. Our next speaker, she was the chair of the Coalition of Resistance. She's still involved with the People's Assembly, but today she's here speaking for the Green Party. Remain Phoenix.
I was very proud and, as you can imagine, very relieved when the Greek Ecology Party decided eventually, after several elections, that they would stand on the electoral register with Syriza. It made my heart sing, it made me glad. The Greens reject austerity economics, they reject profit before people, and now we are part of the anti-austerity government in Greece as part of Syriza, and I am very pleased about that. Our one, so far, Green MP in Parliament in Westminster, she had no problem sending best wishes directly to Alexis Tsipras before the election, and our Green MEPs had no trouble immediately sending messages of support to the government once Syriza's great victory was known. We want to stand with anti-austerity governments across Europe. How are we going to make that start? It started in Greece. Who knows what might happen in Spain? As John said, whatever happens in our elections here, we know that we will be facing austerity economics for some time soon. But the Greens are experiencing a surge in support here, and that is in no small part due to the fact that we support anti-austerity economics, a new way forward. We agree with the government of Syriza that there is no way that we can tackle any of our problems, social or environmental, while we have austerity economics. And there are bigger battles out there that we need to fight. When I was in the Syriza office 2 years ago, Tsipras, and we can laugh now, I don't know why I was confident, but I was confident. I think in that week they were in the polls between 3.5 and 3.8% as far as popularity was concerned. But Tsipras said, even if we achieve government, that will only be 10% of the effort that we need to achieve the changes that we need. And that means to overthrow capitalism, to overthrow the ruling class, and to make sure that the majority of the people of Europe can stand together and make a decision for the future that we want. The only way we are going to be able to do that is by being out on the streets in all the cities across Europe and internationally, standing up against the ruling class and saying the future we need must have the people and our planet and our future before you profiteers, the greed and control. They have the wealth, they have the media, we have the masses. So workers of the world, workers for the world, unite. We have a job to do. Thank you.
Pleasure. Quiet crowd.
We have been asked to have a special speaker here, and it relates to the National Gallery. Someone who has supported the people of Greece, but the reason we're asking her to say a few words is because she has been suspended
Yes, they certainly
for
do.
trade union activities by the National Gallery. She's a member of PCS Union. After that, we have Jeremy Corbyn MP, Billy Hayes from the TUC and many more. Candy, are you here?
Embarrassment for the National Gallery. Our representative of Occupy here.
Thank you.
They're very likely
Thank you very
speaking.
much for allowing me to speak here, because although I can't speak about my own situation because the gallery won't let me, that has not stopped us from speaking out against the gallery's plans. And I'm very proud to say that from next Sunday, the people who work here will be on strike again for 5 days. Against the gallery's plans to privatise 400 out of the 600 staff. We know that these plans are linked to the government's austerity policies. They want to make cuts and then they give our public services to their friends in private companies.
Yeah,
and we know what that means. It means worse conditions, worse pay and more services, and we say the people who work here, who look after the paintings and look after the public, are part of museums and galleries, and it's a reflection that culture should be part of the kind of society that we want to live in, not just one that's about making profit.
I hope people are going to be marching down Parliament Square after this.
We think
Support Occupy.
that we can win is because we find only
Everyone needs to go,
people
the whole lot of us.
who think that it's a good idea. We call them our troika. They include Mark Getty, a billionaire who runs this gallery as chair of trustees when he doesn't even pay his staff the living wage. It's an absolute scandal.
We have a political prisoner in Charing Cross Neck, Dronica McCarthy's in Charing Cross Neck now. They still don't let him out. Dronica McCarthy. He's in Charing Cross Neck right now. He was arrested last night. They've not let him out yet.
People literally signing our petitions, donating thousands of pounds. And that, I think, can give us all hope. Because we haven't had general strikes like they have in Greece, but we have had victories here. We take courage from the Lambeth College strikers who won, from the St Mungo's workers who won. So please support us, come down next week, because if we can win, that won't just be a victory for us, it will be building our movement in this country against cuts and privatisation and austerity. Thank you.
Right, I think you need to exercise your voices a little bit, because you've been listening a lot. So if you can
Yes, I was in Parliament
with
Square. I've
all
done
of
a quick
us,
walk up here.
We won't forget.
Obi's travelling that. I'm covering this.
We won't forget Angela Merkel. Drop the debt.
Yeah, Obi got let out. It's Veronica McCarthy is still in custody.
We won't forget Angela Merkel. Drop the debt. We won't forgive. We won't forget Angela Merkel. Drop the debt. Our next speaker is from Spain, from the Podemos party. As they say behind me, venceremos, Podemos will win, and it's Laura Gutierrez.
Hello people, I'm a Spanish immigrant. Okay. I'm one of the 2 million people, Spanish people, who live abroad because at home we cannot do other thing than live from the solidarity of our families and friends. One of those 2 million people who, on top of having to live abroad, can hardly manage to have a say on the elections of our own country. Only 3% of us managed to vote in the past elections, thanks to the new regulations of the law. On the other hand, I'm one of the only 2 million Spanish people who still got the right to protest, thanks to the new gun law. The freedom of speak and demonstrate has been banned at home. That is how they want us. They want us without votes and without votes, so they can perpetuate the power without any opposition. And this seems to be a problem not only of Spanish society, but quite a global one. Yes, we dream, but we take seriously our dreams. And we dream with a democracy where we got the right to vote. And we dream with a democracy where we got the right to protest. You know, last time I voted, my ballots came to my home. There were the ballots from political parties. But I didn't receive any ballot from the Troika, IMF, or the European Central Bank, or any other economical power. We are supposed to be living in a democracy, but these economical powers that nobody did vote for are governing our lives. They are governing our lives without any legal legitimacy, without any logical reason for it, and most importantly, without any minimal sign of ethical principles, pity, or any compassion towards the millions of people who are badly affected by their greediness. Greediness without limits. Greediness that is closing the schools, hospitals, leaving people without jobs, education, and medical attention. Greediness to the point of evicting all people from their houses, evicting the same old people who spend all their lives working for us, working to build up the society that we have inherited. Yes, we dream, but we take seriously our dreams. And we dream with a democracy that is ruled by those who we vote for on the elections. These economical powers that we govern our lives and countries says that we own the money. But I wonder, what is economy? I don't know. I work on a health-related profession. For me, economy is an abstract concept. I don't understand it, but neither I want to. Because what I do understand is that no matter how big those figures are, no figure big enough to become a reason to leave people on the streets, close hospitals and schools, and leave millions of people living on misery. There is no reason good enough to do any of these things, but even less when we got enough resources and we are rescuing the banks, those same banks that are evicting us from their houses. I never see a bank working hard the land to grow up vegetables. What I see in my life is that working people, that 99% of the population will in our society, that 99% that is supposed to have the debt. Those are the people we owe something to. Those are the people I believe we got a debt with. Yes, we dream, but we take seriously our dreams. And we dream with a democracy where politicians don't work for the economy, but where politicians use the economy to implement policies in favor of people. Most of our politicians seem to govern just for the elites and follow the rules of the economic dictatorship we are living in. That economic dictatorship that even dare to harass our whole country, Greece. They dare to tell Greece what they have to vote. They tell Greece people what they have to vote, that they have to vote for those parties who are going to continue governing for them. We are supposed to be living in a democracy. The Troika, the European Central Bank, and IMF do not have any right to intervene on the vote of the people. Neither do politicians have any right to govern for the economic dictators. Politicians are public servants, and they should be working for us, not for the common people. You are abusing your power, and we are here to say enough is enough. We got our democracy back, our rights, and our lives back. We are not for sale. We don't have any money to pay back your debt, but yeah, we got a life to live, and that's exactly what we are going to do. Yes, we dream, but we take seriously our dreams, and we dream with a Greece, a Spain, a Europe where normal people can live their lives with dignity. Thanks, Greece, for opening the way. You are the spearhead that will help us to take back Europe. We took the squares, we are taking the parliaments, and we are going to take back the power. Greece, our hearts and our hopes are with you. We are here to support you. Another world is possible, and all of us together are going to make it happen. Si se podemos, venceremos.
Let's have some venceremos. Okay, we had a suggestion for a slogan from someone who used to be a docker in London who was following Greek politics, and he said, the Greeks have voted for Syriza. That's Cyprus, he's a diamond geezer. We can do that in a minute if you like, but first we have, straight from Athens today, someone who's been involved in organising the social solidarity movement, the clinics, the potato people, the support which people who have lost their rights under the memoranda from the Troika, and it's Christos Givanopoulos.
Γεια σας, χαιρετίσματα από την Αθήνα και θέλουμε να ευχαριστήσουμε όλους που βρίσκονται εδώ πέρα, Έλληνες και μη, όλη την Ευρώπη που έχει ξεσηκωθεί, όλο τον κόσμο που βλέπει μια ελπίδα στην Ελλάδα, μια ελπίδα που συνεχίζει γιατί την έχουμε πάρει και εμείς από αλλού, από τη Λατινική Αμερική, από τα κινήματα των πλατιών, από την Αραβική Άνοιξη, άσχετα πώς κατέληξε, και ελπίζω εμείς να πετύχουμε λίγο καλύτερα. So, I would like to thank you, all of you, to thank all the people that are here. I bring you the warmest greetings from Athens. Your contribution has been immense to encourage the Greek people all these very hard years. These years that they have seen their country changing, they have seen their lives changing. They could not see any other future, any future for them. But they didn't give up. It was not a moment that the Greek people gave up. It took a while until we managed to remove this Troika regime, this regime of austerity and social barbarism. But at the end, we made it. And I think we didn't make it alone. We made it along with all the movements around Europe, with the Squares occupation movement, the Occupy, the Arab Spring, that was an inspiration also for us. We made it, and this is not, and for that reason we understand that whatever happens in Greece, it depends not only on Greek people, and if we want to be successful, we have to build an international movement, and we have to bring the insurgency and the overthrowing of this system everywhere. I want to tell a few things about the grassroots solidarity movement in Greece. This grassroots solidarity movement, it was not just an alternative in a system of injustice. It was not a charity system. It was not NGOs that they get funding from those that they suppress us. It was a movement that came out of the political struggle of the Greek people against their dominators, either national or international. It was a movement that is based in self-organization and direct democracy. It was a movement that deepens the democracy exactly at the time that they hijack democracy from us. It is a movement that builds its own institutions, and it meets the immediate needs of the people in order these people to be able to stand up with dignity and carry on fighting. And at the same time, it has produced a different way of organizing the life around the needs of the people with the participation and the engagement of these people. And this is where the biggest seed of hope has been put in the ground. And this is why we say that we cannot win if we don't have if we don't meet two requirements. One, it is to even further increase the routing of these people, to organize even better the Greek people. And the Greek government knows that. And we hope that we collaborate together as we do until now, in order not to be able to endure the pressures and the blackmailings that they come from all these international and capitalist bastards. Okay.
Yeah, bastards!
So, the second...
Bastards!
Okay, sorry for that. Revolution has got some disruptions. Okay. So, the second requirement, it is, we should not forget the international dimension. And I think what is happening here today, what has happened the last weeks, what has happened the last years, it is exactly the building of a new round of building a new internationalist movement between the people. That people can identify with each other, can embrace with each other, and can separate from the leaders of their country that in reality they work against them.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have many other things to say. I think that we should do our best all together to not allow the capitalists of Europe to unite against Greece. We should do all together whatever it's possible in order to spread the contamination of the revolt everywhere, to fight for the success of Podemos and the movements in Spain, to fight for a political change in this country, to strengthen our movements from below and strengthen our relationships and roots with the people. This is the mistake. Thank you.
Yeah!
This is the secret, not a mistake.
Really busy.
Because they asked me to say something in Greek for the Greek people here, so I apologize for the non-Greek speakers. Θέλω να πω στην ελληνική κοινότητα στο Λονδίνο, της οποίας υπήρξα μέλος και εγώ. Έζησα 10 χρόνια από τη ζωή μου εδώ πέρα, όλη την προηγούμενη δεκαετία, ότι ο ελληνικός λαός αυτή τη στιγμή αυτό που βιώνει είναι μια αναθάρρυνση. Έχει σηκώσει ψηλά το μέτωπο και νομίζω ότι και εσείς αυτό το πράγμα νιώθετε. Ήτανε πολύ λυπηρό να βλέπεις την Ελλάδα να καταπατιέται και να βλέπεις αυτούς που καθοδηγούσαν την Ελλάδα να χαίρονται γι' αυτό ή να κάνουν το καλύτερο, να δίνουν τις καλύτερες υπηρεσίες τους στο να μην μπορεί η Ελλάδα να ορθοποδήσει. Και αυτό οδήγησε 150.000 νέο κόσμο που είναι το μέλλον της Ελλάδας να φύγει και μια καινούργια γενιά μεταναστών. Ένα από τα πρώτα πράγματα που είπε ο Τσίπρας το βράδυ των εκλογών ήταν ακριβώς ότι θα ξαναχτίσουμε αυτή τη χώρα για να μπορέσουν όλοι να την νιώθουν σπίτι τους και να ξαναγυρίσουν. Ας βοηθήσουμε όλοι να πετύχουμε σε αυτό. Thank you.
Really busy here. I think they might even be spilling down onto the square.
Our next speaker has written 2 best-selling books. Can I ask people not to stand on the cable? Has written 2 best-selling books. Some of you may have seen them or read them. Chavs is one of them. And he's also a journalist. He was in Athens for the election results on election night. It's Owen Jones.
Owen Jones. Owen Jones speaking next.
Friends, over the last few years, Europe has lived through a long, dark night. But in Greece, finally, dawn is breaking. The defining issue of our time is who caused this crisis and who has been made to pay for it. It wasn't public sector workers who plunged this continent and much of the world into economic calamity, nor was it working people, nor unemployed people whose ranks have swelled since Lehman Brothers came crashing down. Neither was it immigrants or poor people or those without adequate housing or the young or the hungry. And yet they have been made to pay for a crisis they had absolutely nothing to do with whatsoever. All the gains, all the rights we enjoy in this country and in Greece and across Europe, not granted to us by the goodwill and generosity of the powerful, but won through the struggle and sacrifice of our ancestors. They are the giants on whose shoulders we stand. And everything they fought for at such cost and at such sacrifice is being stripped away across Europe. Social provision under attack, the wages and living standards of working people ever chipped away, the rights of workers stolen, public assets that belong to the people flogged off to profiteers. We say austerity has failed, and yes, the consequences have been economically disastrous, but they have not failed for those at the top, the mean and the greedy, who thrive like never before. And just look at what they've done. Look at what they have done to Greece. A quarter of the economy gone. Over half of all young people without work, robbed of security and dignity and a future. Poverty nearly doubled. People deprived of healthcare, and it gets worse. Death. The suicide rate, the infant mortality rate, all have soared. These are not just injustices. These are crimes. Crimes committed against the Greek people. But friends,
what do we do with criminals?
When I went to Greece, I saw something so precious, so incredible, so inspiring. I saw hope. I saw hope everywhere. The defenders of all unjust orders throughout the generations. They make us believe that injustice is like the weather, that you can complain about it raining, but there's nothing you can do about it. But hope says otherwise. Hope says that all injustice is transient, is temporary. It can be overcome with enough determination and solidarity, and all injustice in Greece and elsewhere will be overcome. The Greek people, they spoke loudly and defiantly. They said, we will no longer be made to pay for a crisis we had absolutely nothing to do with. They said, we will no longer accept a future of ever-declining living standards and ever-growing poverty. We will no longer accept rules by financiers and bankers and bureaucrats we never even voted for. Friends, they said they will restore their democracy and build a society free of poverty and insecurity and misery. And their cry was not just heard in Athens. It was not just heard in Crete. It was heard in every corner of this globe. Because Greece, you are not just fighting for yourselves. You're fighting for us all. Every person unemployed, their wages falling, their services under attack. Greece is fighting for all of you. And that's why we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to stand by Greece as they are attacked by the German government, by the EU bureaucracy and by international finance. And Angela Merkel, we have a very clear message for you. We are coming for you, and in time we will defeat you and your government. So thank you. To finish up, thank you, Greece. Thank you for giving us hope. Thank you for showing there's an alternative. Thank you for giving us leadership, for showing we can fight back. We can build a different sort of world. And in exchange, let us say this to you. However much they throw at you, however much you are menaced and threatened by the banks, the bureaucrats, we will never, ever give up on you. We stand by you to the end, and we will follow your example. We will vanquish not just austerity, but we will defeat an entire system run in the interests of bankers and tax dodgers and poverty-paying bosses. We stand together, we fight together, and friends, we will win this battle together. Solidarity.
Really big crowd now.
When we criticise Angela Merkel, it's important to say we are not criticising the German people. Indeed, we have a message from 13 of the 15 leading trade unionists in Germany who said the series of victory provides an opportunity for a fundamental reassessment and revision of European Union and economic social policy. They were pleased with the Syriza victory. Can I ask if Andrea from Italy is here? Could he come to the back of the stage? And a speaker from Portugal was due to speak. Our next speaker is the Deputy Mayor of Tower Hamlets Council, which is making solidarity links with the council in Greece, Olia Rahman.
Thank you, Paul. Comrades, friends, let me start off by saluting every single citizen of Greece for showing us the way, for standing against the fascist government and defeating them today. We are proud of you and we stand shoulder to shoulder with you today. Comrades, friends, I'm also proud to announce the Tower Hamlets Council, which is in the heart of the London, will be sending delegation of councillors, community activists to meet the representative of Greece government to show our support and to show our solidarity. And the reason is simple. We all know about the austerity. We know the damage the austerity caused in our borough and in this country and the lives of working class people and the citizens. We know the austerity makes the life of the poor even poorest and the economic disaster caused by the richest and the bankers. The Greek people have showed us the way to fight and to stand united. Our unity is our strength. And not only we fight in Europe, but we also need to fight in this country. The millionaires and the billionaires just sitting stoned away from here, they will say we are in it together. Well, let me say, we are not in it together. We are not with you, and we will stand against you, and we will defeat you, and we will not rest. We will not rest until we defeat every single one of the fascist government right across the Europe. We need people who will stand up for working class. We need people who will stand up for the trade unionists. My colleagues from PCS Union will be striking here next week because of the pay and the conditions that they have to go, because of the privatizations. David Cameron and his friends want to always support the millionaires and the billionaires, and we will not allow that. And this is why we will continue to fight the austerity. We will continue to stand with the people of Greece and people of Europe and people of Spain, because the government, there is an anti-austerity party in Spain who are fighting, and I hope they win the election. If not, they will come very close to winning the election. But we have to stand. Comrades, we have to fight together. We have to be united. United we stand, divided we fall. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is from a sister party with Syriza. It's a new party here bringing together different groups. It's Left Unity, and the speaker is Andrew Burgin.
Comrades, thank you for coming here today. It's fantastic to see so many people coming to show solidarity for Greece. But we should imagine, we should think, what will happen should Greece fail? What would happen should Syriza fall? It does not bear thinking about, because their election on the 25th of January has changed everything. It has opened up a breach in austerity. It is a breach against them, and that's why we stand with them. But were they to be defeated, we could not win. We have two tasks now. The first task is to build a European solidarity movement alongside Syriza. We must say this clearly. They must not be left to fight alone. So this is the beginning. It's the beginning of a new campaign. And we've heard from Christos, who has set up the clinics in Greece, and we have helped that. We have set up the Medical Aid for Greece campaign, and we have campaigned alongside them for 5 years. But now we have another campaign to do. Greece cannot be isolated. We are waiting for Spain with Podemos. They must win.
Yay.
And in Ireland, they must win too.
Yay.
Tomorrow, Tsipras and Varoufakis will be in the councils of Europe. There will be all the countries of Europe there. Who will support them in those councils? No one. No one will support them. Cameron will not support them. Merkel will not support them. Holland will not support them. The people that will support them are the people will support them.
Yay!
That's what will strengthen. That's what will strengthen them. To see demonstrations like this that are taking place across Europe today. 30,000 people in Syntagma Square on Wednesday stopped a deal being done to the detriment of the people. You need the people on the street saying, not one step back. And the final thing I should say is when we build that movement, we have to build it here. What is clear to the people here, why we have set up Left Unity, is because we need Syriza here. We need a party here. We need an anti-austerity movement here that will challenge capitalism, that will challenge the austerity, and will build with the people of Greece. So we are now, it isn't a question just of us supporting Greece. It is a question of us building an international movement that can overthrow this system. That's what we intend to do. Mercy!
Μαζί θα νικήσουμε. Μαζί θα νικήσουμε. Together we will win. I want to say one thing. I first went to Athens in 1967, a young lad, and I found myself in a military dictatorship. But the students in 1973 and the Greek people in 1974, they overthrew that dictatorship. They also overthrew the monarchy. When I was there, the king,
Get rid of them.
in reference to Alexander the Great, Constantine was known as Constantine the Little. Well, they got rid of Constantine the Little. If they can get rid of a military if they can get rid of a foreign imposed monarchy, we can be sure that they can win this struggle for the dignity of people in Greece. Our next speaker comes from an organisation which represents 6.5 million people in Britain, the Trades Union Congress. He's their international spokesperson. He is also the General Secretary of the Communication Workers Union, which in the old days we used to think of British Telecom and the Post Office workers. I'm really pleased to welcome an old friend, Billy Hayes.
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, it's feeling a little bit dangerous on this platform here today, but this is a very, very important rally, and if I could just follow on from Paul's contribution. In 1973, I spent the best part of 3 months in a little island called Eos. And as Paul said, there was a dictatorship in Greece at the time, and I remember, may sound a bit funny now, but I remember being pulled up by the police for long hair. What that was now. But I'm here today to represent the British TUC. Unfortunately, Frances O'Grady can't be with us today, but she does support the election and did support the election of Syriza. And the TUC, both in this country and internationally, Sharon Burrow of the International TUC has said this: the international finance and institutions and the European authorities need to respect the voice of the Greek people. Negotiation must replace edicts as an engine to regenerate the Greek economy. We need a new deal for Greece. We need support in the Greek people. And as Paul has said, if we can remove generals, then we can remove the Troika stranglehold on Greece. Hey. We need a new deal for Greece, and how do we deliver that particular deal for Greece? And it's by solidarity. I had the good fortune as a representative of the Communication Workers Union to visit the annual conference of the postal workers in Greece and hear firsthand what austerity means. And if there's one thing that the Greek people have given to the people of Europe, not just democracy many thousands of years ago, but real democracy. We run Europe, not the bankers, not the Troika, not Angela Merkel. We run Europe. So we're here today to demonstrate our solidarity as the trade union movement. You, the people of Greece, have given us hope. Solidarity with Syriza. Solidarity with the Greek people. Thank you.
It's absolutely huge.
Our next speaker
now
is from two campaigns, related campaigns, which are particularly relevant to Greece. In our celebration of Syriza, we shouldn't forget that the third party, with 6.5% of the votes, was the fascist Golden Dawn. It reminds me to ask again if there is anyone here from Anti-Fascist Action for Greece. If there is who wants to speak, do come forward. But the speaker we have is the Secretary of Unite Against Fascism and Stand Up Against Racism.
Hello, my name is Wayman Bennett, and I bring you solidarity greetings from UAF. And we have to thank the people in Greece for something. We have to thank them for kicking Golden Dawn. We have to thank them for smashing Golden Dawn off the street, for exposing Golden Dawn for being Nazis. And the reason why we have to do that is because when the Troika tell us that there is no alternative but to accept austerity, we know who's waiting in the wings. We know who murdered Pavlos Visas. We know who murdered Lukman. And we will never let these people tell us that the alternative to democracy is fascism. And when people tell us that multiculturalism doesn't work, they tell us it doesn't work. I tell you what doesn't work. The euro doesn't work. It doesn't work for our people. If poverty doesn't work, closing hospitals doesn't work. And when they say who to blame, who do they say to blame? They use divide and rule. They say blame immigrants. They say blame anybody but themselves. But no immigrant shut a hospital. No immigrant bankrupted Greece. I tell you, the people that bankrupted it, it was the bankers. And they don't accept any responsibility for what they've done. And history cannot repeat itself. So we've had a request from Greek anti-fascists. They say on the 21st of March, they want solidarity all across Greece for the anti-fascist demonstration that they've called. And we should give them that. But much more than that, we should demonstrate in Trafalgar Square on the same day in solidarity to say that we do not want the fascists to be the alternative. We have to have solidarity with the democratic government, because the alternative is that history repeats itself. And history can repeat itself. But we also have to remember this. We beat them. We beat them. And this government has called for the trial of Golden Dawn. And when they have that trial, I want to throw the Nazis into the deepest dungeon where they belong, because they should be thrown into the dustbin of history and they shouldn't exist. So let's have solidarity against those people that divide us, against Islamophobia, against anti-Semitism, and unity with the government of Greece.
Wayman, excellent as usual. You should know that next week on the Saturday, the 21st, I think it is, at the Trade Union Congress, Unite Against Fascism have a conference at which there will be a speaker from Syriza and a speaker from the anti-fascist movement in Greece, Kiefa. It's a delight to welcome our next speaker, who has been with us through many anti-austerity struggles, who went to Greece as the first MP to visit Alexis Tsipras 3 years ago, before most people had heard of him. I'm sure he can tell us himself what he found there. Jeremy Corbyn, MP.
Jeremy Corbyn next.
Thanks, Paul. That visit to Greece 3 years ago was memorable for many things. One, the way Owen described seeing hope. At that time, yes, there was some hope, but there was also desperate fear, as people saw everything they knew and valued in their communities and societies being destroyed and closed down and sold off to the bidders from abroad who were buying up all the real estate, even the roads, the railways and everything else, as the mad privatisation programme went on. Alex Tsipras and I spoke at a rally in a small town outside Athens. He told me that very few people had been there when he'd been 2 elections before, only a few more the election just before that. This election, small town, 2,500 people there, desperate to hear that there was an alternative to austerity. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow when the European Council meets, but I do know this. The election result in Greece is a complete game changer all across Europe, because it's shown that there is a movement for an alternative economic strategy, an economic strategy that sees the solution to Europe's problems not in turning on the minorities, not in turning on the poor, not on destroying public services and privatising which enriches the rich, but something different. Anti-austerity movement that empowers the poor and gives the resources that are necessary for all our children to achieve in school and in education. That is the message that's coming, and that message is emboldening people all across Europe. And if ever there was anyone needed a message this week, it's got to be the British Parliament and the British government. HSBC Bank, the world's favourite local bank, apparently has been squirreling away £22 billion in a tax haven in Switzerland in return for only 135 million in taxation. It's a very low rate of return, I might add. And they have been doing it as have many other banks have been doing it. How about the ministers tomorrow say, we're going to shut down and close down every tax haven in every country all across Europe?
Yes, that needs to happen.
And you simply pay your taxes where you live and where you work. You don't have the alternative of private banking and sticking in Switzerland, the Cayman Islands, the Turks and Caicos, Isle of Man, Channel Isles, or wherever else it happens to be. That surely has to be the message. There were a group of us there on Thursday at the demonstration. Other MPs, Chris Williamson, Diane Abbott, John McDonnell, Katie Clark, Ian Lavery, Graham Morris, and joined by Conor Murphy of Sinn Féin, a very devoted anti-austerity, anti-corruption party. What we need is to move British politics on, and this event is doing it. The anti-austerity movement is doing it. The message from Greece is doing it. Stand together with Syriza against the EU Central Bank and the Monetary Fund and all their agenda of poverty and austerity, and stand together for people to have their wishes of education, health, housing and hope. The alternative is the growth of the far right and fascism. You all know that. Thank you.
Sweep the crowd. It's really big now. No idea how big.
When you get back home this evening, if you have a PC, or you may be able to do it now, you will find that Jeremy Corbyn comes up under Google as the person, Jeremy Corbyn, who you just heard, as the person who sponsored in Parliament an early day motion number 729. Try and remember, EDM 729. I don't know a time when an early day motion has been put down before by a party in the British Parliament, not a party, a number of parties, Plaid Cymru, the Greens, and others, as well as some Labour MPs. They put down a motion welcoming the victory of the Syriza party in Greece. So when you get home, look up EDM 729. And the second thing you do is you tell your MP that you expect them to sign early day motion 729. It's another way of putting the pressure on. Our next speaker, I'm delighted to say, is from the Italian resistance to austerity. Syriza, when we meet them in Greece, always stress the importance of Italy coming in behind them. And the speaker is Andrea Passuaro.
It's okay. Dear friends, I'm honored to be here today in representation of my party, Sinistra, Ecologia e Libertà. However, today I represent a wider network within the Italian community in the UK who feel a sense of solidarity towards the Greek people and who support the struggle of the Greek government of Alexis Tsipras to change European politics. European politics needs to change because the past 5 years has been very grim. If Angela Merkel had to write a manifesto a few years back, she would have started like this. A spectre is haunting around Europe. the specter of austerity. Why I say this? Because austerity is an ideology. It's an ideology which says that the crisis of a broken financial system should be paid by ordinary people, by students, by workers, by unemployed who have nothing to do with finance. Austerity is the ideology which says that the stability of financial markets comes before the stability of our own societies. Austerity is that ideology which says that we should not, that we should do structural reform urgently. It's urgent to do structural reform, to cut on our hospitals, on our schools, on our universities, but we can close an eyes for 5 years on the rich customers of HSBC who didn't want to pay their taxes.
Oh.
And all the government of Europe joined this ideology. They all told us that austerity was the way to fix our economies. Well, it didn't. It didn't fix our economies, neither where it was mild, like here in the UK, where it worsened the living condition of all the people, nor where it was savage, like in Greece, where it destroyed a quarter of the national economy and generated a humanitarian crisis. This is why today we are here not just in solidarity towards the Greek people, but in solidarity to all those who suffered because of austerity, in Greece, in Italy, in Spain, in Portugal, everywhere in Europe. This is why today we should say that this is not a clash between Germany and Greece. It is a clash between the financial institutions which makes profit out of money and the ordinary people who live out of their work. But we are here today also because Greek people has reminded us something. They have reminded us that there can be no Europe without solidarity. Solidarity among people and solidarity across states. Solidarity, freedom and democracy were the very values at the heart of the original idea of Europe. They were at the heart of the Manifesto di Ventotene, written in a little island off the coast of Rome in the summer of 1941, while Europe was devastated by war and the anti-fascist Altiero Spinelli and Ernesto Rossi wrote their manifesto. This is why today it's not just about ending austerity. It is about reclaiming Europe as a world of democracy and justice. I want to finish saying this. Yesterday in Rome, 50,000 people gathered together to support the government and the Greek people. And I want to tell you this, Italy will join you guys. We will unite with you to overcome this austerity. We will defeat the ideology of austerity. We will reclaim democracy and justice. We will build a better Europe. Thank you.
Now, a very important group who were actually, many of them, disenfranchised in Greece in the last election because the election was called quickly and the voting list wasn't up to date. This important group are the youth and students. And we have a speaker today from the National Campaign Against Fees and Cuts, Beth Redmond.
Hi everyone, my name is Beth Redmond and I'm here to bring solidarity to Greek working class and Syriza from a student organisation here in the UK called the National Campaign Against Fees and Cuts. We've been inspired by what's happening in Greece, in our fight against austerity, our fight against the bosses and for a free and liberated education system. This demo here that's happening now is so important because we're not just spectators of history, but we're active participants. The success of Syriza depends not on clever negotiations, but mobilisation of workers in Greece and across the rest of Europe. I want to send solidarity in particular to the left in Syriza with groups like DEA and the revolutionaries in the left platform. Let's keep up this movement and help Syriza by fighting the class struggle here in the UK. Thank you.
Our next speakers, and there's only 2 or 3 more. If you want to do some singing afterwards, we can do that.
Yeah.
Any songs
or marching,
you like, provided they're anti-austerity. Our next speaker is John Sinha from Occupy Democracy.
Hey!
Hi, I'd like to thank the organisers from Syriza London for giving us this platform to talk. Occupy Democracy, as you know, has been occupying Parliament Square once a month since October and will be there once a month until the general election. Our movement was inspired by the protests in Syntagma Square in Greece, the protests outside the Greek Parliament against austerity, an austerity that was imposed undemocratically on the Greek people by this so-called memorandum. I'll try and be as brief as possible. The crisis in the social and political crisis in Greece is not simply limited to Southern Europe. The crisis is all over Europe. All over Europe we are ruled by political parties that don't represent us, that put the interests of banks and big financial institutions ahead of the people they're supposed to represent. The enemy of Greek democracy isn't simply Angela Merkel. It's also the City of London Corporation, who are conspiring to undermine democracy in Greece and in this country. And I say that the people, the sovereignty must rest with the people. We're here to say that sovereignty is with the people, not with the banks, not with the debt. And that the guarantors of Greek democracy and Greek sovereignty rest with the same people that overthrew the military dictatorship in 1974, the workers and the students who overthrew that dictatorship. And I think that's what we need to look for here as well as in Greece. That's what I'm saying. Oh, and by the way, we're still occupying Parliament Square and you're welcome. We'll have a meeting about Syriza at 4:30, so please come.
All of you. All welcome.
95 cleaners, this is what it represents, organised through the Finance Ministry. There's another one there, hold it up high. And they use their cleaning gloves as a symbol. They were sacked over 18 months ago, but they refused to accept it. They camped outside the ministry. They occupied the ministry. They tied down half a dozen police every day for more than a year. And they're known as the 595 Katharistrias, cleaners. If you listen to, and it's on Greece Solidarity Campaign Facebook, and I encourage you to look at Greece Solidarity Campaign Facebook and our website, but you will see the first speech of Alexis Tsipras, the new Prime Minister in Greece. Point number 3, we will reinstate all the cleaners and give them their jobs back. Now, one of the slogans of the squares in Athens was, "It is time for our dreams to take revenge." Just imagine, let your mind walk a little bit. We have a new government comes in here in May, and the first speech of the Prime Minister, the new Prime Minister says, all those people who lost their jobs through competitive tendering, they can have their jobs back. Or says, the same as Tsipras says, we put an end to privatization. That's the example Greece is setting us. And these women are fantastic. If you're ever in Athens, go and see them just south of Syntagma Square. Now, there is one last speaker we have here who actually went with me to meet the Katharistias recently, and her name is Cherry Sewell. She's the treasurer for the Greece Solidarity Campaign. Cherry.
Hi. I think the sun from Greece is with us today.
Certainly is. It's magnificent
what a
weather.
fantastic day. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. I just want to say a few words about the Greece Solidarity Campaign, who together with London Syriza has organised today. We were set up maybe 4 years ago, and Tony Benn, late Tony Benn, was our first president. We have been campaigning for 4 years. We sent delegations to Greece, so a lot of people from UK have been to Athens and met lots of different people in different situations. But we need, for this huge task ahead of us, you to get involved. It's great you're here today, but we'd like you to do more. So to do more, you could, for example, join the Greece Solidarity Campaign. So you go to the Greece Solidarity Campaign website, to the tab Join Us, and you do what's suggested there. If you're in an organisation, if you're in a trade union, if you're in a local community or an anti-cuts organisation, you could affiliate to the Greece Solidarity Campaign. Again, you can see how to do it on the website. Increasingly, some of the organisations affiliated to us want to form solidarity links with people in Greece. So, for example, Save Lewisham Hospital campaign is twinning, well, they don't really like the word, they're forming solidarity links with Evangelismus Hospital, which is the biggest hospital in Athens, but it's in the Balkans even, but it's had its cash reserves stripped bare by the Troika. So it's in dire need. And so when we took the chair of the Save Lewisham Hospital campaign to Athens, she wanted to set up a solidarity link. There are lots of things you could do. Perhaps the most direct thing you could do is you could give money so that we can carry on campaigning, but we need more of you to be involved. So think about it, look at the website, look at the Facebook, come and talk to us and get involved. We need to fight with Greece so that the Syriza government can win and stay in power.
Okay, well, the Metropolitan Police learned something from Syriza. That same first speech by the Prime Minister said the police should return to their neighbourhoods and stop policing demonstrations in Central London. And they took down the barriers around Parliament.
There's a piece of string round
and
ours.
what happened? The first demonstrations were in favour of the government, not against the government. Now I hope the last thing doesn't happen here, but look around you. We agreed with the police that we didn't need policing. We worked together. That we would support each other. And they haven't come along, and I haven't seen any fights. Second thing I want to say is, all those who have taken placards and banners from us at the beginning I know it's very tempting to hang on to the flags and give them to the grandchildren, but we need some more demonstrations, so please bring them back to us. And finally, I think it's important to thank everybody here, to thank those MPs, there are some of them down in Westminster, who've been arguing the cause of the Greek people. To thank especially the people in the Greek activists in London, whether they're in Antalya or in London Syriza or organised in Anti-Fascist Action for Greece, for keeping us informed and keeping the flame alive here. Because our position is that we expect Europe to let Greece breathe.
Yeah.
We expect Europe to drop the debt.
It's all fake anyway.
And to people of Greece here, and to people in Greece, we say, in or out the Eurozone, Greece will never stand alone.
No great benefit of being in the Euro
Now,
anyway.
I have been asked, and it's a little naughty, I've been asked to use one of our slogans, which contains a Greek word which all the Greeks here will know, but the English people won't know so well. And the English translation rhymes with bankers.
Oh.
And the slogan is, the Troika and their banker backers are just a bunch of rich malakas. So I think you can let yourself go and say that. The Troika and their banker backers are
Just a bunch of rich malakas.
Well done. And the final story, when Angela Merkel came to meet David Cameron the other week, she went to the British Museum because there was an exhibition on Germany. And we contacted the director of the British Museum, and we had a little demonstration outside the British Museum. And we said to the director, look, we've a deal to suggest to you. You can keep Angela Merkel and put her with the mummies, but we want you to give the Parthenon marbles back to Athens.
Yes.
Thank you for coming. Watch out for the notices. Thank you to all the speakers. Thank you especially to the people who did the megaphone. Mazi sa Nikisame. Mazi sa Nikisame. Thank you.
Του σπατιού την τρομερή, σε γνωρίζω από την όψη που με δυο μετράει την γη. Απ' τα κόκκαλα περμένη, στον Ελλήνο τα ιερά και σαν πρώτα αντριωμένη, χαίρο χαίρε ελευθεριά και σαν πρώτα αντριωμένη, χαίρο χαίρε ελευθεριά. Ζήτω η Ελλάς! Ζήτω η ελευθερία!
People are hurrying me about uploading this to YouTube. I'm going to break the stream here so someone gets a chance to do that. I'll upload it. It'll take about 5 minutes to make sure everything's up, but then anyone is welcome to take a copy and put it up on YouTube. Right, I'm going to try and get people to come down to Parliament Square. There's plenty of people here, but